once again today to actually deliver a stream of Orb on the Moons of the Earth, the anime series. As if the thing's actually working, and it seems to be doing that weird thing. Good to go. So yes, we actually are watching episode 7 of Orb on the Moons of the Earth. Episode 6 actually was the introduction of Badeni's character completely, because it kind of sort of got me at the end of episode 5, but episode 6 was his entire character, well, the beginning of it, plus also the bit with Kozi at the end, which she was quite sweet, I must say. A nice jumping off point for the rest of the entire series now. And yeah, I mean, a more pivotal character to the entire plot gets introduced this week as well, so I actually can't wait to see how they do handle her character. And this episode should be very interesting because it does delve more into the societal aspects of the series overall, and actually the time period as well. So I can't wait to see how that kind of pans out, because it will pose some interesting questions for this whole entire show, and subsequently the time period itself as well. So anyways, actually put on Twitter actually gone live before I forget to do that. Alright, so streaming. Come by and get comfy as we watch some more Orb. Right, and with that, we should be good to go. Let me change the panel so I can actually see it a bit better. Right, let's get this show on the road. Let's start this thing in 3, 2, 1. Let's start this thing absolutely now. Eventually, it gets there with the timer. The way timer sometimes starts and sometimes doesn't. I say it should be very interesting this week. It's interesting every single week, but I think this one even more especially. I do like little bits of visual storytelling there as well. So it does in theory tell you a lot more about her just from the way her hands are than just saying, by the way, I've been doing this a lot basically. It's kind of a cool way of doing it. Then it's kind of better than doing it doing it this way than telling us essentially. Also, interesting enough as well, the other thing to note is that she has better stealth skills than most Assassin's Creed characters. She's basically on par with Solid Snake at this point. Like I said, this series has what I kind of feel like with this series most about more than anything is the idea of like the smaller character moments. Because again, don't get me wrong, I feel like this show does have grandiose moments. The whole thing with Raffle, episode 3, is a grandiose moment in the series. It's a pivotal moment. But what I kind of feel like with this show, what it should also be remembered for is the character moments that you get. Akazi's ability to actually look up at the sky is really well handled, and it's one of those things that within about 3 episodes, I'd say about 3 episodes, not 2, we had a whole entire character arc. And it felt so organic to the pacing of the show that it didn't really feel like as if you just watched an entire series in 3 episodes, essentially. But, as I said, the pacing is so goddamn good that I feel like it needs recognition in that department. I don't want this show to fall victim to the idea that what most people will actually remember this show for is like the big moments, essentially. I want people to know these moments, essentially, because these are my favourite moments. Don't get me wrong, I'm not finished the entire manga just yet. I can't say manga, holy shit. I haven't finished the whole manga just yet, but as I said, even later on to the series, it has those small moments, and those small moments do add more to the plot itself. And I kind of feel like the whole moment of Occult was just so well done. It's one of those things that it's just a nice cap off, essentially. That also then kind of feeds later on to the series as well. So it's not just that moment, essentially. It's more later on. Bro. God damn. Bro. I said, from a production standpoint, I do kind of wish this show just had a bit more, if you get what I mean. Because there's a little bit. Hello, hello, how's it going? How you doing? The production wise of this show is kind of noticing a bit more in this episode. Granted, this episode doesn't really have much going on, so it's not a massive loss, but you do kind of notice it a bit more this week than usual. Gee, I can't wonder why he wants more time to read it and everything else like that. I can't wonder why. Yeah, then doesn't he, for a show that's all about like stir up the sky and shit like that, it is quite dark. It's like, yeah, this shit needs the best. It's like, well, who's that? That's me. I am him. God damn. He's like, oh, he's the OG Dracula flow. do kind of love like how he sticks his guns with everything though. He never changes as a person. He's just like, yeah, I'm just the best. But he's not in that arrogant kind of like, other character kind of arrogant way. It's a very interesting character for that reason because he's not like arrogant in like the sense of arrogance. Well, that time round, the actual paper burnt, so there is no record of it essentially, unlike last time. He's so he's so cool. He drops lines like that, like as if it's nothing. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I won't speak just in case, but I kind of feel like there's a little bit more there than I just realized. I don't know whether or not that ruins something later on in the series. So I guess its inflections are a little bit different, so it doesn't sort of sound the same, but I don't know. I'm sort of wondering whether or not he's saying that for another reason. I won't speak because it's something later on in the series, but I just kind of thought I was sitting there going, I don't know about that one, guys. you get Suda Ken to voice it. You get Suda Ken to voice him. You're gonna put two and two together, and I feel like that kind of ruins something later. His inflictions are a little bit different, so it sort of changes it slightly. But you know, I guess that is kind of the problem with anime, really, when you think about it. I wouldn't have changed. I don't know. That's the thing, because unless you know, it's not a problem. That's the thing. But as soon as you know, and you sort of watch the episode, you're like, wait a minute. It's probably one of those episodes I'd probably would say is just to read the chapter instead, and then come back and watch anime afterwards, because it's sort of, I don't know, because it's just a bit weird. It could just be me. I'm not too sure. Stinky boy, evil, stinky. Hate this guy so much. I waiting to say that this whole entire time. I've been waiting to say that. I hate this guy so much. He's such an awful human being. Ugh. 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 Such an awful human being. I hope he slips on something. I hope someone pulls a carpet underneath him and he slips. It sort of does go back to the whole idea of like society itself at this point in time. It is kind of depressing because it's one of those things that it goes back to what her dad was saying, like the idea like of standing out, because if she stood out too much, and then we know what happens with these things, especially what happened with Raffle, like the idea if you actually do go against too much, actually do start publishing what might in theory be kind of classified as to their witchcraft, you know what happens essentially. It sucks because again she has to live in obscurity while the other guy gets all the prize essentially. Shit sucks, man. Stinky boy. Stinky. Hate that man. Hate that man so much. I mean, he's more than just a wicked man. He's an asshole. God damn it, this is actually breaking my heart. This is breaking my heart so badly. So I imagine probably maybe volume 3 might be to the end of the core, I think. The way they're pacing it out, I think. Which might be kind of cool because the end of this volume is pretty freaking peak. The peak of peaks, I might add. Well, for this, for what I've read so far, even though it gets even better. Oh god, it hurts my heart. It hurts my soul. They sort of got the okay, I pull up scene pretty damn well. Yeah, I mean, production wise, I think that kind of suffered the most. I think to me, it was still glimmers of like what I like about the series still in there. The visual storytelling was still present. I like that aspect. But I kind of feel like movement, pardon the pun, on that front, it was kind of a bit lacking. Some parts of it kind of felt a bit less good than others, but overall the episode itself was good. It kind of delves more into societal aspects of the series itself, and it kind of does suckle back to what each character's kind of plight in a way, because Bedeni has this idea that he wants to continue on, but there is things pushing him back. Even though he says that I will hurt myself in order to actually continue moving on, there is still that societal aspect that sort of pushes him back to actually fully realize what he wants to do. Same thing with Kozi as well, and I think Jolenta kind of has it the most in that way, because as we've actually kind of established, everyone doesn't see eye to eye with her because she's a woman, and it's kind of and it fucking sucks because again, she has all these things and she has to kind of relegate herself to obscurity because that's how society was at that point. And it's one of those things that even her saying to Pius that it wasn't like me who wrote that was fucking depressing, because again, if she said that she had wrote that, she might have got somewhere more. Who knows? But there is this whole idea that if she did write that, like her dad says, and like I guess Kolbe says as well. You know, I don't agree with anything that guy says, but there's this idea that if she says anything, God damn it, I'm trying to pause the thing. There we go. If she says anything about that whole aspect, then they could accuse her of witchcraft and subsequently kill her, because as we know, if you kind of push too far with these things, everyone kind of goes, hey mate, that's not good, I don't like that, what are you doing? And it sucks. Let's be real, because she can't do anything. Even at the end of it, when she solved the problem for Badeni and Akozi, she used the guy's name. She didn't utilize her own name, and it's one of those things that even like I would imagine Akozi and Badeni don't really fucking care. If she would it would help if it helped them more if she used her name. But the way society is, she basically has to kind of use someone else's name. And it kind of sucks because again, there is some parallels between her to an extent with her and Okozi. Okozi with the idea that society's kind of made him believe that the world is filthy, the world is lower than anything else, and the only thing you should be concentrating on is going to heaven, and that's about it. Even towards the end of the whole scene with them with the actual treasure with the chest, that whole entire scene sort of cements that aspect, because he doesn't actually, even though he's able to still now look up at the sky, he still hasn't kind of removed that whole aspect about him that he says that, because he says that by doing this we'll be at the gates of hell. So he's still kind of got that thing about this whole entire thing. Like he still kind of has what society's kind of put him towards still there. He's not necessarily kind of disregarded that entirely. Yes, you can view the sky, but he can't necessarily get rid of that whole entire like baggage that society has kind of given him at this point. And it sucks in a way, because again, it's one of those things that you should be able to be free to actually study whatever the fuck you want and not actually have to be relegated to certain things because of certain things like that. But that's how it is in the 15th century. And it's one of those things that, again, later on the series will delve more into it. It's actually a very interesting topic because, again, it poses a lot more questions about this series overall. And I like that because it's a more of this show's very discussionary in that way. It's not a show that really just has a point A and point B. It does to an extent, but then everything else surrounding that is the more interesting aspects of the show. And also I do like how they brought Janeta's characters to life in the anime as well. Granted, yes, production wise, there is still odds and ends here that aren't the greatest, but what they do here is really well done. I actually do like that because again, the visual storytelling with her hands was proof, case in point there. Like you could tell immediately there that she does this very often. She will run to the well, go down it. And it's one of those things. It's quite a nice way to tell us that this isn't just a one-time thing. This is a thing she's been doing this entire time without telling us essentially. And I like that because that's what this series actually kind of thrives on. It's the visual storytelling. If you remove that aspect of this show, it sort of kind of wane a little bit because again, you could just read a manga at that point. But the anime does have the benefit of the OST and subsequently the voice acting and subsequently the actual visual storytelling. Yeah, I'm a bit hesitant to say that I like the way they handled her father because unless you can put two and two together, it's not a problem. But if you can, it sort of starts to diminish a little an event later on in the series. And I kind of feel like if they got someone else to voice him, it might have hit better, I think. Because the moment in the manga hits because you're like, oh shit. Unless you actually put two and two together beforehand, but you know what I mean. But in the anime, if you kind of already know, you're like, oh, okay. But again, that could just be me. I'm not too sure. So I always go back to the idea that it could just be me, and I've just read because I've read the manga as well. That it's one of those things that because I've read it, you don't want to have that moment spoiled, and I know whether or not it kind of spoils it. Again, I'd like to see if anyone else has an opinion on that one because that one's actually quite an interesting part of the episode. And yeah, I mean, again, like he says don't stand out, but I kind of feel like if you can put two and two together, there's a reason to why he says it, essentially. Like he's not saying it off the cuff. There's a reason to why he does mention don't stand out, and does also go back to what Kolbe says. And also, yeah, Cole's an asshole. I hate that guy so much. But again, we'll see more later on in this series about the societal aspect, especially from Genesis' point of view. And it's one of those things that is depressing that she has to kind of tell herself that Kolbe is looking out for her. That he's not essentially a bad person, and it's not the way of looking at it because let's be real, he's only doing it for the praise. He has to do jack shit all day, and he gets something out of it, and she's like busting her ass trying to like do all this shit, and he's just like, I'll just take this and publish it under my name, and she's in obscurity, and no one knows who she is, because this series does sort of examine the aspects of history and what people tend to actually kind of put towards said history. So if you remove that person from the history, it sort of diminishes their whole entire character overall, because what this series is telling us, even the smallest characters in this show do something towards the entirety of this world. It's something we shouldn't actually just disregard. We shouldn't disregard anyone in this series because they all contribute. And I feel like when she says that, oh, I'll have to like, it'll help Kolbe, he'll get more recognition. It sucks because it kind of devalues that whole entire message, but it's not devaluing it in a sense that she's not doing it on purpose. It's just the way society is, and it sucks in that way. And that's why I like about this series, because it does, in theory, there is this strive for trying to do what you want to do, but then society is sort of trying to push you back. Essentially, there is this back and forth in that regard. I thought it's one of the more interesting aspects of the show overall. Besides the philosophy aspects, it's the idea of society itself, and I kind of like that because again, it's more over in that sense, but there's also like some smaller aspects about society that does actually sort of delve more into the aspects. So yeah, I can't wait to see what else this show does do. The show's still brilliant, even if the production itself is sort of waning a little bit. But I don't really want it to crash and burn by the midway point, because later on, my god, the series does get some absolutely epic moments. So yeah, I'm gonna lie down for a long ass while. So if you actually have enjoyed this whole entire stream as a whole on Twitch, and as always, do leave a follow on Twitch. Does help quite a bit. You will then see these streams live. If you actually have enjoyed this whole entire stream as a whole on YouTube, and as always, do leave a like and a sub as well. Both do help quite a lot. If you have then enjoyed this whole entire this whole entire stream on YouTube, and as always, do leave a follow on Twitter. Helps quite a bit. You actually will then know when your streams are live and any other streams I may do as well. So yeah, until next episode 8 of Orb on the Movements of the Earth, I will see you guys then. Bye for now.